everyone. Welcome to the Skillman Foundation webinar. First of all, we just wanted to let you know that this webinar will be recorded, and the recording will be sent out to all the registered attendees after the call. We're going to kick it off with our CEO, Tanya Allen.
Thanks so much, Ashley. Good morning, everyone. It is really good to speak to each of you. And then I'm also really grateful that you took the time this morning to dial in and to hear what's new at the Skillman Foundation. I just wanted to say a couple brief remarks before I introduce Punitha Thurman. As you all know, we had, in the last couple of months, we've had a lot of change. We had Robert Thornton, our longtime senior program officer, retire. We had a couple of changes with some of our longtime staff members who have either moved out of state or decided to do something different, leave the foundation. And as a result of that, we have a lot of new faces, but not so new faces at the Skillman Foundation. And what do I mean by that? We have a staff who are on our team that you know, and many of them have grown and many of them have been promoted. And so I wanted to just make note of a couple promotions for you, and you've seen this in some of the written literature, but I want to let you know. As you all know, Punitha Thurman is our new Vice President of Program. Punitha has been at the Foundation for nearly 6 years and has served in the role of Program Director leading our education work. David McGee is now he's still at the Foundation, but he's moved into an Associate Vice President role for Organizational Excellence. Siobhan has moved into a Program Officer role, and she has worked in our Evaluation and Learning Unit, as well as our Office of the President. And then we have Kumar, who is now a Senior Program Officer, and he is leading our Economy Squad. You'll hear more about him. And then you'll also hear that Beth has been promoted to our Grants Manager. So I want to just let you know that a lot of the same faces, just in different roles, and I'm very pleased and excited to have each of these persons on our team, along with other people who are still in their existing roles. The reason I lift all of this up is because we deeply believe in investing in our people, the people who work inside of the Skillman Foundation and all of our partners. And you'll hear more about that as well. And this is just an example of how that was occurring at our foundation. The last thing I just wanted to mention before introducing Punitha is that you'll hear today some discussion of our strategy, which continues to get refined and refined. And that strategy gets refined, and it was initially developed, as you might recall, by learning from you. We had lots of discussions with each of you. Also, we did focus groups that many of you hosted for us to hear about what you thought was the most important work for us to do. So we were informed by you, and we just want to make sure that you understand that the work that we aspire to do is what we believe is our collective work, and we also believe that we can't do it without you. So you'll hear a lot about partnership, how we can be better partners, how we can be better servants to you, so that we can be better servants as a community to our children in the city. So I am really grateful that this big task and our big and ambitious plans are being led by Punitha Thurman. As I mentioned before, Punitha has been at the Foundation for about 6 years. She has proven herself a strategic and collaborative leader. And what I really do appreciate about Punitha is her commitment and dedication to talent, to strategy integration, and to partnership. And so I'm really pleased to introduce her to you more formally in the role of Vice President of Program and Strategy. So I'll turn it to you, Punitha.
Great. Thank you, Tanya. I appreciate it. And really, I'm glad that you were able to help set the context for today's conversation. I'm really, really looking forward to this opportunity for the team to reconnect with our grant partners as Tanya mentioned, there are lots of new faces, and it's really just an opportunity for us to reconnect and to talk more about how our work is evolving, and making sure that we are working together in smart ways. Some of you have been longtime partners of the foundation across different generations and bodies of work. Some of you are brand new partners to the foundation. In either case, today's webinar is really an opportunity to talk about what partnership means at the foundation, to get a chance to hear more about all the faces and names that you may have seen come through your email, especially as there have been some transitions and you have an opportunity to work with new people at the foundation. We'll talk a little bit about how our strategy is involved. As Tanya has mentioned, we rolled out the opportunity agenda about 2 years ago, and even in that short time, we have heard feedback, we have learned things on the ground, and we're excited to share with you how we're sharpening our thinking in response to that. And we'll lift up some of the bodies of work. We also want to make sure that you see this as a preview for what's coming forward through this summer. We want to make sure that the lines of communication across our grant partners and with the foundation are open and always accessible to you. So as I mentioned, really thinking about this concept of partnership is what drove our thinking about this work.
A platform there, but even within
today, so partnership is a word that's tossed around often, and it can sometimes mean different things. So really, before the team introduces themselves, really using this opportunity to clarify what it means from both our perspective and your perspective to be in our grant partner portfolio of work. You'll see that the lead is really around this commitment to expanding opportunities for Detroit children. We expect that of you as our partner, and it is what you will get in partnership with working with us. More than that, we also wanted to articulate some of the expectations you should have of working with your program officer. We're grateful for the hard work that each of you is doing in respective places in support of children, and really want to use our partnership as an opportunity to learn, to get key insights from you that can shape our thinking. We also think being a good program officer partner to you means more than just the transactional relationship of funder and fund receiver. We really do see this as a partnership where we can connect you to other ideas and other partners, where we can be co-designers with you in solving problems. And we hope that if you're experiencing all of these aspects of being a grant partner to us. In the same way, we also have expectations of you. If you're in our grant partner portfolio, we also we want you to be honest with us. We want you to share your perspectives and to raise things that you're learning across your work. Let us know what challenges you're facing and how you're addressing them, and what we might be able to do to help you with that. We're really excited about the partnership that is emerging across not just individual program officers and grant partners, but across grant partners, and really want to continue to build that work out. So before we get much further, I'd like to turn it over to the team so that you can have a better sense of all the program officers that make up this program team. They collectively bring passion, commitment, and expertise to our work, and each of them has knowledge and work that they'll be contributing to the foundation's work. As Tanya mentioned, we have been a few years into our agenda, the opportunity agenda, and there is one program team. We're structured. One of the changes that Tanya referenced was some changes internally. We've structured ourselves around two squads, the education squad and the economic well-being squad. And they're each of the program officers is gonna do a quick introduction of themselves before we transition back to talking about the work. With that, let me turn it over to the team.
Good morning, everyone. This is Ashley Edenbaum. I know a number of you on the call, but for those who don't, I will introduce myself in a moment. But first, I just wanted to let you know that if you want to ask a question, which we'll be answering questions at the end of the webinar, you should see a small navigation pane with a yellow arrow. If you click on the arrow to pull open a window, you will see that there's an area where you can enter a question for staff. And we'll be collecting those and answering some of them at the end of the webinar. So my name is Ashley Edenbaum. I'm on the Economic Wellbeing Squad. I've been at the foundation for almost 5 years now, and there are many reasons that I'm in this work, but I would just share that I was raised in a Jewish home that deeply valued learning and academic achievement as a key to a meaningful life, and my father, who is an Argentine immigrant, actually went to law school when I was in high school, and it changed the trajectory of my family's life forever. I don't want young people in Detroit to succeed in education and life in spite of the odds. I want a more just and equitable system where the odds are always in their favor, and that's why I'm in this work.
Hi, everyone. This is Kumar. I'm on the Economic Wellbeing Squad. Foundation since 2015. And similar to Ashley, there are a number of reasons I'm in this work, but the one that I'll lift well today is that, you know, as a first American, I've had a lot of access and opportunity because of the hard work of other people. And so part of the work that I do here is trying to make sure that there are those opportunities for all young people here in the city of Detroit.
Good morning. This is Lindsay. I support the work on the economic and well-being and education squad, and I've been at the foundation for 3 months. And what really motivates me in this work is, as a former teacher, I really believe that every young person deserves the best that the world has to offer, and that it's up to make sure that opportunities for young people are just and equitable.
Thanks, Lindsay. I'm Matt Harrell, Associate Program Officer on the Education Squad. I've been at the Foundation for about 5 years. What drives me in this work is that I'm around a lot as a child, and it caused me to think a lot about othering and belonging, and so I've brought that into the work that I've done for about 15 years in the nonprofit sector prior to this throughout the Midwest. And as a theme is emerging here among us program officers, I seek to break down those barriers that keep young people from achieving all that's possible in Detroit.
Hi, my name's Siobhan. I'm on the Education Squad. I've been at the foundation for about 5.5 years. Many reasons bring me to this work, but really it's my passion for youth-focused social change and working at the intersection of youth development, education, and equity to close the persistent opportunity gap that is unfortunately felt by many Detroit youth who are just awesome and deserve everything in the world.
Thanks, Siobhan. Good morning, everybody. My name is Terry Whitfield, Education Program Officer here at the Foundation. I've been here for close to 2 years, but before then, spent close to 10 years in the field and working with doing youth development programming, supporting program quality across Southwest Detroit and the city. And I'm excited to be here. As a second-generation Detroiter, I've been blessed to have parents and support systems that gave me the experiences, knowledge, and capacities I needed to be successful in this world. And ever since I started doing youth work in 2008 at Alternatives for Girls, I realized that it's important for all young people to have similar supports, whether they're at home, in the community, or in school, that can support them to be successful in life in whatever quantifiable ways that they determine.
Around going beyond just
way to make that that dream a reality, then at a foundation that's a fierce champion for Detroit's kids, of which I am one. So just excited to be here.
Thanks, Terry. I also wanted to let you all know that we also are hiring new positions. So there's one position on the program team that's open where we have posted and are in the midst of process of hiring a senior program officer that will work on the education squad. And we are as soon as we get that information and that decision finalized, we will share that out so that all of you will have a chance to work with yet another strong and committed program officer. More than just the program team is the foundation as a whole. I wanted to make sure you also had a chance to know that beyond your program officer, there's a team of individuals at the foundation who can be helpful to you in many ways. So the program officers are supported by a fantastic administrative team. Kurt Swanson, Catrice Howard, and Siobhan, who have been at the foundation for differing numbers of years, but are equally, each of them has their story of passion and commitment as well around this work. It's much more than a job. They are broken up around their support by squad. So if you're working with the education squad, Kurt can be a resource to you, and if you're working with the economic well-being squad, Siobhan can be a resource. Their contact information is here as well. In addition to the admin team, we have, in the Office of the President, we have a Strategic Evaluation, Learning, and Impact team. Andrea Anderson, who's our new Director of Evaluation and Learning, and Alexander Sisser, who's the Learning and Impact Fellow. Andrea and Alexander work very closely with the program team, especially as we think about how to curate learning, how to integrate data into our strategy work, and they can be a resource to you as well, and may even want to be reaching out to you to learn more about the work from your own perspective. Natalie Fodius is our Director of Communications. Many of you have seen her work in her leadership around our website, around the newsletters that go out, and our social media. Part of what we want to make sure is available to you as well is leveraging a platform that Skillman has built. If you have events, if you have stories, feel free to reach out to Natalie. She's always wanting to share the good work that you are doing to as broad an audience as possible. And finally, Mary Beth, who's our grants manager.
Good morning. So I'm the grants manager. I've been at the Skillman Foundation for 3.5 years. I ensure that the core business of grant making is executed and that all activities are in compliance with legal requirements. I'm also the point person for technical assistance needs with FLEX. So we are going to have a webinar within the next few months, and it's going to be demonstrating Grantseeker. Grantseeker is an all-in-one tool for grants management, which allows applicants to coordinate their work in a single convenient place in the cloud. This feature allows you to coordinate your work with other foundations that are on the FLEX platform. Although we're not fully utilizing the functions in Grantseeker yet at Skillman, we do plan to in the future. As this slide shows, you can create an account through the Skillman FLEX website. Feel free to get started by creating a login for Grantseeker and look out for the webinar invite.
Thanks, Mary Beth. I hope through that brief introduction you had a chance to see the broad team and the broader organization that is really working in support of each of you. And please don't hesitate to reach out if there are questions or ways that you see that our broader team can be helpful to you. We really want the full power of Skillman, and we want you to know that the full power of Skillman is behind you and your efforts. I'm going to pivot from the introductions to a quick introduction of how our strategy has evolved. Many of you may have attended the webinar that we had when we introduced the opportunity agenda, aligned to our 3 impact areas: education, equity, and the economy. We talked about how some of that has evolved. One of the things we've learned over the last few years is the need to really get really clear on our focus. What do all of those efforts really drive towards? And how do we more clearly articulate this focus on equitable systems? The first thing we're organizing our work around is ensuring that there's a high-quality education, strong and loving schools that help children meet the educational milestones needed to progress through school and through life as capable and confident thinkers. Second is a strong after-school system A good deal of learning and development takes place outside of the classroom, under the careful eyes of loving adults. We work to ensure Detroit kids are met with enriching experiences that allow them to explore and expand their sense of self and the world. Skillman has long been invested in youth development and after school, and we're very excited about the opportunities to be thinking about how to build on that foundation and really ensure a system of out-of-school learning opportunities that expand the notion of where and when kids are learning. And third, we're focused on the opportunities young people see for themselves after high school graduation. By working to ensure that Detroit youth are prepared for college, career, and life, we want to make sure they have the supports and the opportunities they need to follow a path of their choosing and to help all of us into a more prosperous and equitable future. As we think about those three systems, we've also identified a set of opportunity indicators. These are indicators that we see as bellwethers, broad and representative of the kind of systems that have to come together across schools, across communities, across policy to ensure that youth are on a trajectory of success. Third grade reading, meaningful high school graduation, and most important, the idea of listening to youth themselves and making sure that their perception and sense of the pathways ahead of them are driven by their own hope and opportunity is incredibly important. As we think about this work and this focus on systems, Kumar and Terry are going to talk you through a couple of bodies of work to help illustrate how our work is showing up in these particular system building efforts. Terry?
Thanks, Benita. I'd like to open up our conversation with our work on chronic absence. It's an example of a compound movement that's impacting both our K-12 education system as well as our after-school system. But before I dig into it, just a set of statistics to help illustrate the current crisis we face. One, that in 2017 and 18, 55% of Detroit students missed more than 18 days of school. So what does that equate to? There's a total of 14,869,028 possible days of school, of which 2,266,740 days were missed. I know you're like, Terry, what are you getting to? What that equates to is more than $1 million spent each year on instructional time where a student is not present. Chronic absence is a statistic that details the various roadblocks students and families face in going to school every day, with some of these roadblocks impacting communities of concentrated poverty especially hard. Roadblocks such as lack of transportation, health, housing instability, social emotional stressors, or poor school climate or lack of engaging material or teachers at school. Establishing a school-going culture is a necessary precondition to achieving our opportunity indicators of third grade reading, meaningful high school graduation, and increasing youth's perception of hope and opportunity. Yet, the problem is solvable. A quick quote by Robert Schuller tells us, "Yard by yard is hard, but inch by inch, anything is a cinch." Through a multi-tiered approach in school and across our community, we have the opportunity to provide the necessary climate, culture, and system of supports and resources required to create such a school-going culture. These elements must meet students and families where they're at, walking with them as they make the necessary adaptations required for a strong school attendance. We thank our respective partners at DPSCD and across the charter school sector for allowing the Skillman Foundation and our partners to walk with you in your respective efforts. Our varied contributions to creating a school-going culture are occurring both at the systems level as well as through programmatic accelerators that serve to enhance our efforts and learning of practices that can be scaled. This dual focus on system-enabling supports and programmatic accelerators to reinforce a school-going culture has 4 pillars. One, together we can. And our goal is to strengthen community-driven collective action efforts, such as Every School Day Counts and 313 Reads, to help expand their capacity in the areas of advocacy and messaging, professional development and technical assistance, data and research, and after-school and wraparound supports. Secondly, where the mind goes, outcomes will flow. So we must change the inherent mindsets of the adults that are supporting kids and embed within systems and community evidence-based mindsets and practices that reinforce a student-centered, humane approach to youth, family, and staff. We are continuing to build that out through our support of restorative practices, through the International Institute of Restorative Practices, as well as supporting Black family development. Third, if people know better, they will do better, but the do better must be coupled with the proper tools and resources that support that change. So we're advocating for the increase of use of tools and resources within systems and communities that support a restorative, supportive, healing-centered school and community environment. This is occurring through our support of Attendance Works and their model of a data-driven approach to identifying chronically absent students. Two, our support of research and evaluation through Wayne State University and their chronic absence and mobility work, as well as the University of Michigan Poverty Solutions and their youth homelessness data book. And then lastly, being able to get resources to schools, our continued support of Community Connections has allowed for 37 DPSCD and charter schools to receive upwards of $3,000 each in many grants to support attendance efforts. And then lastly, teamwork makes the dream work. We must establish and support effective cross-sectoral partnerships that increase student and family access and engagement with barrier-reducing supports. Two examples of that are our continued support of urban neighborhood initiatives and Wayne County Community College District as they build bridges to connect high-quality out-of-school time programs with schools in an effort to support students to get to school through engagement with after-school programs. It is only through true partnership across our schools, city government, and community partners that we will be able to minimize the time our children are not in school, thus maximizing the learning potential of every Detroit student. Only strengthening their ability to read at grade level by third grade, achieve the experiences, knowledge, and connections needed to succeed in college and career, and ultimately nurturing the seeds of hope and opportunity that will sprout within a thriving Detroit ecosystem that is undergirded by a strong school-going culture. Kumar?
Thanks, Terry. With the focus on systems, I'm going to talk about two specific pieces in our work, civic engagement and connecting education and workforce. Equity is, of course, a core value for the foundation, and we want to make sure young people are at the center of shaping systems. And a part of that is elevating the voice of lived experience and understanding the pile-up of inequities. When you think about our result statement, in order for young people to meaningfully contribute to Detroit's recovery, they have to have ownership over how they can show up and what they want their future to look like. And so our vision for success is that young people have the tools needed to actively shape their lives, schools, neighborhoods, and communities. And we also want to create the space for them to engage and influence civic change. We know that neighborhoods with higher levels of civic participation have a greater sense of community, lower levels of crime, and citizens who are healthier and happier. And the involvement in youth organizing contributes to the social, emotional, and academic development of young people in powerful ways, while also promoting their civic and community engagement. One of our goals is that Detroit becomes a city that values, understands, and finds ways to lift up youth voice with more youth leaders. So what does that look like? We have grants with partners like 482 Forward, Community Connections, the Funders Collaborative on Youth Organizing, Michigan Nonprofit Association, CDAD, and Citizen Detroit. These range from organizing around educational issues, the census and voter registration, to the development of a 21st century civics guide for Detroiters, and also working with DPSCD to improve their civics curriculum. We're also looking at the intersections of education and workforce. We want to get young people into more structured work-based learning opportunities, including training programs with the understanding that while it's important to be job ready, it's also really important to have a job now. We want to make sure young people have the supports they need to not only get a job, but keep a job, and make sure that employers understand what those supports are. There's a lot of activity in this space, from college and career pathways to youth employment, and our focus is making sure that there are quality opportunities with a focus on the experience of the young person. Some partners in this work include Atlantic Impact, Urban Alliance, DESC, Sir Metro, University of Michigan's Youth Policy Lab, Midnight Golf, the United Way, decan, and give merit. Also want to build on what Terry talked about with culture and climate in schools. We're working to collectively learn more about what it takes to build and strengthen a college-going culture. In addition to funding decan's operations, that's the Detroit College Access Network, we funded the launch of the College Bound Detroit program, which is doing a deep dive with a set of counselors and school leadership to develop and implement a data-driven strategy to increase post-secondary access and success in their schools by the end of the 2019-2020 school year. The goals of the program are to help schools increase the baseline college enrollment, persistence, and graduation data by at least 5%. There's also a focus to ensure that every student has a college or career plan and to transform the school culture and add capacity in a sustainable way. We're betting on counselors as an important piece of the puzzle, but also as change agents in their schools. If we can build their skills and support, not just through decan, but through a team they build of other stakeholders, we know we'll be successful. There's a mix of middle and high schools, from DPSCD as well as charters. So now I think we're going to actually turn to the Q&A portion of the webinar. And so I believe we're just going to get some questions and start answering them for you.
Yeah, as we thank you for those of you who have submitted questions. We're going to repeat the question for the group online. But if you have them, please feel free to keep them coming. We want to make sure that this is an opportunity to have a dialogue with you and a conversation about the work. Siobhan, will you kick it off?
Yeah, so one of you asked, is your work primarily or exclusively with Detroit Public Schools? No, it's an important focus. We work with both DPSCD and charters, and we have and will continue to do so, but we also partner across sectors, so whether that be government or other community-based programs that are in the ecosystem of supporting youth to thrive.
Question that I have is, why is math not a focus of your work anymore? Isn't STEM important to Skillman? Actually, math is very important to us, and as an indicator of high school and college success, it's an important strand of work we are continuing to source and refine. An example of that is our investment in LearnFresh, which provides a gaming platform called NBA Math Hoops, where it's really about improving and increasing the numeric literacy of students through game, playing a great opportunity to engage with each other and with NBA players and WNBA players. But we're constantly looking for other opportunities, so feel free to reach out to the Education Squad.
Math is also a really important indicator for the Economic Wellbeing Squad in thinking about 8th grade math performance and the importance and the connection that performance on 8th grade math has for the trajectory around high school. So it's a great indicator. It's a great question that actually leads to the question.
Grant programs fit into the.
As you can see, this question of math comes up across both the Economic Wellbeing Squad's work and the Education Squad. Partner asked, sometimes my organization's work cuts across areas Skillman has defined. How can I partner with more than one program officer? We expect and actually anticipate that much of the work that our partners are doing will cross across program officers. It's part of why we wanted to take the time today to introduce you to the whole team and the individuals working, because it's likely that while you might have an assigned program officer that will be working most closely with you, we want you to know and be connected to the work that others are doing. The implicit strategy around systems building requires a deep focus on thinking about these intersections and the work
outlined today.
To make sure that we can both facilitate and collaborate that kind of work is a core part of the infrastructure that we're trying to build. So I'd expect you to be working across squads and want you to feel welcome to do so. And if we can enable that in any other way, let us know.
Great. So our next question is around, so the opportunity agenda is all about systems change. So how does my community-based program fit in? Well, you can't get to strong systems without strong programs, right? And so The programs in the Skillman Foundation's portfolio and outside it are a really important part of that system, whether you're talking about safety, development, education, or even workforce. And so we very much value the partnership of all of our grant partners, and they play a really big role in making sure the systems are strong on behalf of young people. We have another question around asking if we are focusing on special efforts for Black boys like MBK, and asking if there's anything for girls of color. We absolutely still continue throughout our portfolio to support boys and young men of color. We are one of the lead conveners for the My Brother's Keeper Detroit platform, and one of the signature pieces of that is the MBK Detroit Innovation Challenge, which focuses on young people of color, both boys and girls. And so there's definitely a platform there, but even within our traditional portfolio, there are definitely still opportunities to engage.
Okay, so the next question we got is around how we are defining meaningful high school graduation. And you're going to be hearing a lot more about this from us. We're still evolving, but there's been a lot of learning for us around going beyond just high school graduation and thinking about what does it really mean for graduation to be meaningful so that young people can truly be successful in reaching their own definition of success in life. And a lot of that has to do with going beyond what we think about as typical achievement indicators, which are of course very important to us, and we want those things for young people, but also thinking about their autonomy and self-determination and the ways in which they're truly connected to community and able to come out of school and plug into all the opportunities that are growing in the city. So we're looking forward to more conversations around that, both to share our thinking, but also to
how we are looking at support.
Thanks.
One question that came in is, where does the recent call for collaboration grant programs fit into the structure outlined today?
To continue to learn from you around that work. Thanks.
Supporting the expansion of programming across the city, especially when we think about the connection of really high quality content providers, being able to support the expansion of those opportunities within those comprehensive sites such as like Parks and Rec or other large scale programs or spaces where young people are at. There are a lot of lessons that we've learned from the work from the Call for Collaboration that will go into helping to inform larger bodies of work that will be happening in 2020 across how are we looking to support and fund not just a robust experience for summer 2020, but also moving forward, how are we really expanding those opportunities across the school year so that young people have high quality opportunities, not just during school, but after school, again, as we refine and redefine expanded learning and where learning happens.
There's another question asking how are young people involved in shaping strategy or making grant decisions? So the foundation's focused on improving the life outcomes of kids in the city of Detroit. And if you're not talking to young people or hearing directly from them, we're probably going to miss the mark. And so it's the responsibility and expectation of every program officer to, one, engaging young people in a meaningful way to better understand some of the issues that they might be facing, but then also connecting to young people through our grant partners in a deeper way.
So one of the questions was about focus on community safety, and this takes a bit of unpacking, but it ties into themes that Kumar and Terry and others have raised. Safety is still important to us as it was in the Good Neighborhoods Initiative, and some of the lessons learned out of that initiative carry forward into this, but safety isn't as explicit as the I'm one aspect of education, and I'm going to Kumar the economic side, because it's kind of divided now. So in terms of safety education, as we focus on younger kids, say K through 8, we're looking at things that tie into chronic absence. So dealing with, for example, safe routes to school, if kids feel safe on their way to school. What does the climate and culture look like in the school itself, as Terry mentioned, with investments we've made with practices. And then that squad, the economic well-being squad. And so I wondered if you wanted to speak a little bit to some of the issues focusing on with old.
Sure. So looking at juvenile diversion as a piece of the high school graduation strategy, and that's with partners like Detroit Justice Center. And so again, it's really lifting up the voice of young people and making sure that we're creating or helping to create platforms for them to lift up the change they want to see.
Great. Another question that we got is, what is the foundation's approach to DEI? Actually, for the past 2 years, we've been doing a very intentional internal diversity, equity, inclusion journey to recommit and revisit what diversity, equity, inclusion means to the foundation. There's a policy statement that is on our website, which I won't read verbatim for you at this moment, but really the gist of it is really thinking about how are we putting equity at the center of all our work, especially when we're thinking about the systemic change that we're looking to help facilitate in Detroit. I really encourage you all to follow a blog series that is on our website in our newsletter called Forward for All, which is really trying to open up a community conversation about diversity, equity, inclusion, and how it relates to the opportunity agenda. If anyone is interested in either commissioning a piece or promoting research or anything that could be related to this, please contact us, as we'd love to feature our partners and community voices in this series.
We got a question looking towards partnering with Skillman, whether we'll be supporting integration and collaboration across our grant proposals. And the answer is yes. Systems change only happens when there's lots of partners working together to influence the change and to create and expand more opportunities. The Call for Collaboration RFP that was released last year is a great example of the foundation attempting to enable and support that collaboration. I would expect, we don't have a defined RFP around that, certainly are interested in those kinds of ideas, but as you think about the work of tables, as Terry has articulated, the 313 reads or the Every School Day Counts table, other bodies of work that we're still shaping out, we fully expect that enabling and learning from what does it take for a good, strong partnership across partners. What are the conditions, what are the ways that the foundation can support that work, lift both the challenges and the opportunities. Those are all things that we're thinking about and would welcome your insights and perspectives around how to make that more possible for programs and partners doing the work on the ground. Question came in about how we are leading change efforts through our social media with youth, and lifting youth voice is an important part of our strategy as we think about the work, and there are two distinct and sort of related ways. One is by using our own social media platform, and I'll let Will talk more about that.
Yeah, so we are always looking for ways that we can lift up young people's voices. And as Panita touched on, one of these ways is through featuring young people on both our social media platforms, but also through our blog. So pretty frequently we reach out to young people in the city to write and share stories or programs or different things that they're passionate about. And that way we can kind of lift up their perspective on the same level that, we would a civic leader or an adult community leader. And so that's something that we're definitely looking forward to doing more in the future. So as a grant partner, if a young person that's part of your program that you think has a valuable experience or perspective, please reach out to us, and we'd love to feature them on our blog.
Thanks, Will. I also want to just kind of build on the youth voice piece. So in addition to the work that our communications team is doing to lift up the voice of young people, that's part of actually that's part of a screen of every grant that the foundation makes, is making sure that young people are helping to shape that work and have voice in what that looks like.
A question came in, are you working in other neighborhoods besides Cody? So many of you know in the Good Neighborhoods Initiative, we were deeply focused on 6 targeted neighborhoods as that initiative launched. And there are lots of lessons and infrastructure built through that work that carries through in our work today. So the Cody Rouge Initiative is a partnership between the Foundation, DTE, General Motors, and Quicken Loans, where we are working with the Cody Rouge Community Action Alliance and thinking much more intensively about a platform to create a child-centered neighborhood, leveraging the assets of a number of partners. But that is only one place where we think about working in. Think about the work of neighborhoods. We're working across neighborhoods, across the city. We are hoping that some of the system building efforts lean in many of the different systems that are evolving. Tanya, did you want to add in on that?
Yes. Hold on, sorry.
Okay.
Sorry about that. I was listening and I didn't have the phone up to my ear, so I wanted to make sure I answered in a way that you guys could hear me. So we are hoping that all of our work is going to land in neighborhoods in a meaningful way. So we're not targeting any specific neighborhoods other than the partnership that we have with the Cody Initiative. However,
opportunities within
deeply in neighborhoods on specific projects. So there are efforts like our chronic absenteeism work that is landing deeply in Southwest Detroit. If there were efforts that were going to land in Woodbridge or in the Pershing near Pershing neighborhood, we would do those things if they were in alignment with our work. So we would just say, continue to feed us ideas and tell us how the work is landing in place. If it's not landing with relevance, I think we would really want to know that if you think that our work isn't hitting the ground in a strong enough way. We're quite sensitive to this issue, as you can imagine, after having worked in Good Neighborhoods for nearly a dozen years. We know that we must do the system work in order for the work to land smartly and sustainably at the neighborhood level. And so that's our ambition, and we want to partner with you to figure out how to do that well. And if there are places who really want to go deep on some of these issues and have a strategy, we really would like to hear that and to be able to connect that more broadly to the systems work.
Great. Thank you, Tanya.
So we've got a question. Is there any thinking for creating a skills progression system in which students from a given age move through year by year, starting in middle school, where they're able to build skills that add to creating more work-ready, career-ready students, and ensure how much of the system are we prepared to undertake? That question really is an example of what we define as a compound movement. So when we think about our out-of-school system, how does a young person beginning in elementary school through middle school and high school build a set of skills and mindsets that help to scaffold themselves in a way that they move from a community youth development experience, from an introductory experience, through more of an apprenticeship role that then could lend itself to be working at DTE or Quicken in more of a high-level workforce experience. Those are the things that we're wrestling with, but all of it is based on and undergirded by our relationships across different systems and helping to be the voice of young people in those spaces so that those experiences are not disconnected, but truly connected in a way that gives young people the best chance for success moving forward.
To add to that, there's also an effort with Detroit College Access Network and their Get Schooled platform around work in world-ready badges. So that's really looking at micro-credentialing and kind of stacking these so young people can better show employers where they're at, and then it also helps employers better understand where young people are at and then where those gaps might be.
Thanks, Kumar. A great question is Skillman working on education policy? As you can imagine, doing systems change without thinking about policy would be kind of hard. So yes, and one example of the way that we're currently working on education policy is through Tanya's co-chairing the Launch Michigan, which is a statewide cross-sectoral partnership trying to improve education policy statewide.
Great. We got a few more questions coming in, but I also want to be mindful of time to make sure that we can use your time respectfully. So it's some housekeeping. We will post all of these questions with some written notes so that you have them after the webinar, and we'll get to the questions that we didn't get to that way as well. As Ashley mentioned earlier, the webinar will be recorded and available for viewing. And more so, this is what we hope is just a continuation of a conversation that you have been having with us. And we have some upcoming events that we really wanted to make sure that we showcased with you. So from here, a question that we received, which is a great segue into this part of the conversation, is really thinking about, will there be opportunities for the organizations you support to meet in person? Absolutely. Part of the value proposition that the foundation can provide for both you and our city is ensuring strong connections, not just with us, but across the foundation. We're open to lots of ideas from you about what you need and what would be useful. It's why we have taken the moment to think about this webinar as the start of a series of conversations, and would love to continue to hear from you about what you want as we shape a stronger, more defined set of connections and meetings for the 2020 year. So please keep the ideas coming. We really want to be thoughtful as we start our planning forward to make sure that, most importantly, the time that we ask of you is useful and generative and impactful to the work that you're doing, and gives you an opportunity to learn from what we're seeing across the field. To that end, we have scheduled on Tuesday, June 25th, you'll get a more formal invitation or opportunity to participate, a call that we're hosting with the president. Tanya, as you know, has been in this work in the city for her entire career, has seen the city change, and has an opportunity to see things from the seat of leadership that she provides. And so it'll be an informal opportunity to hear from Tanya about things that she's seeing in the city, opportunities, and most importantly, an opportunity for you to also ask questions of her. It will lead into an in-person event that we are asking you to hold on your calendars in July. We'll have a more traditional, formal grant partner meeting. We're still working on the details of that agenda and format and focus, but we want it to be both a grant partner meeting and a networking social, so that you have an opportunity to also just make the informal connections across the portfolio of advocates who are working on behalf of children. Mary Beth referenced earlier the opportunity for a Grantseeker webinar. Grantseeker is a free tool, as she mentioned, that is really in service and available to make your lives easier, your organization. And so we want to make that available to you so that you can learn more about the tool, understand whether it's a fit, and to have access to experts who can help you think about using the tool more robustly in your organization. We anticipate finally another in-person meeting in the fall. That will be the fourth quarter, sort of last meeting of the year as a grant partner. It's where we will continue to share updates about our work and to foster those kinds of connections across the work. But we'll also use it as an opportunity to plan ahead for the 2020 year, so that you have a long view on how we will be approaching grant partner meetings, and how we can, with your insight and input, how we can make sure that these meetings are are a robust opportunity to advance the work that you're doing. Finally, I also wanted to share with you, next week is the Detroit Regional Chambers Mackinac Policy Conference. All of these, there are 2 sessions that the foundation is hosting. It's available for anyone who would want to watch them by streaming online at the link listed below. The first is a session that we are hosting. We've invited Karen Pittman, who is the CEO of the Forum for Youth Investment, to join a panel with Dr. Driver Hudson from the United Way and Matt Gilliard of Michigan's Children to talk more about the power of after school. As it'll be a great opportunity to really lift the importance of a strong and robust after-school system as a critical part of education strategy for the city and the state. And there will also be, as Siobhan mentioned earlier, the focus on Launch Michigan. There'll be a panel talking about what Launch Michigan is and an opportunity to hear from the 3 co-chairs themselves. To clarify, so we really hope you'll take advantage of the opportunity to see these events live streamed as well. We're glad to continue to answer questions. To clarify my earlier statement as we close, we will reply directly to make sure that we finish the rest of the questions, and this webinar will be available for continued viewing. If you didn't get it, if you know of others who weren't able to attend and want to share it, it will be posted on our webinars on our website as well. We are grateful for your time this morning and glad that you were able to join us. And we are ultimately grateful for the work that you do on behalf of children each and every day. Thank you again for joining us, and we look forward to talking soon.